the silence dark, whispers in the midnight park. The night is cold, there's no escape. Ghostly figures take their shape.
Welcome back to Real Talk Horror Edition, the podcast where we break down the movies that mess with your mind and make you check the locks on your doors twice. I'm your host, Josh, and today we're diving back into our series on psychological horror. In this series, we explore the films that blur the lines between reality and illusion, tackle mental struggles, and push our understanding of sanity to its limits. So far, we've explored stories that play with reality in unexpected ways, leaving us questioning what's real and what's imagined. Today we kick off part 2, and we're shifting gears to focus on paranoia and the unknown. These are the kind of films that dig deep into human fears, fear of being alone, fear of not knowing what's real, and fear that something or someone is out to get you. These movies take everyday situations and twist them into something deeply unsettling. There's no better example of this than Roman Polanski's 1968 masterpiece, Rosemary's Baby. It's a classic of psychological horror, a film that doesn't just tell a scary story, it pulls you into it, making you feel the same creeping paranoia and fear as its characters. This is a movie that turns ordinary life into a nightmare, and its power to unsettle and disturb has kept it a staple of the genre for decades. For me, this is not just a movie, it's an experience. It's one of those rare films that doesn't just show you something terrifying, it makes you feel it. The sense of dread builds slowly, wrapping around you like a fog until you're questioning everything. You start to see things. You start to feel things that might not even be there. And that's the genius of this movie. It plays with your perception and keeps you on edge. What makes this film even more impactful is how it captures a sense of helplessness. You watch Rosemary, the main character, navigate a world where nothing is as it seems, and you can't help but feel her fear, her confusion, and her isolation. It's a story that takes something as joyful as starting a family and turns it into a chilling tale of suspicion and betrayal. In this episode, we'll break down what makes Rosemary's Baby so effective, from its eerie atmosphere and unsettling characters to its brilliant use of subtle clues that keep you guessing. But first, let's set the stage for this unforgettable story, where nothing is quite as it seems and every shadow hides a secret. So grab your headphones, dim the lights, and get ready to step into the world of Rosemary's Baby, a film that redefines psychological horror and remains just as haunting today as it was in 1968. So Rosemary's Baby was directed by Roman Polanski, adapted from Ira Levin's novel by Polanski, and with a haunting score by Krzysztof Komeda. A quick plot overview: Rosemary Woodhouse and her husband Guy move into a gothic apartment building in New York City, surrounded by eccentric neighbors. When Rosemary becomes pregnant, she begins to suspect that those around her, including her husband, may have sinister intentions. Is it paranoia, or is there something truly diabolical at play? My first viewing of Rosemary's Baby left me unnerved. Its slow build of dread, combined with Mia Farrow's harrowing performance, pulled me into Rosemary's world of confusion and fear. The film expertly makes you question what's real, forcing us to share in Rosemary's growing paranoia. It's a story that'll linger in your mind, whispering doubts and fears long after you've turned off your screen. Now, at its core, Rosemary's Baby is the ultimate in psychological manipulation and gaslighting. As we all know, the term gaslighting refers to a form of psychological abuse where someone is made to doubt their perception of reality. And this is precisely what Rosemary endures. Guy, her husband, begins as a seemingly supportive partner, but becomes her most treacherous betrayer. By aligning himself with the Castevets, Guy manipulates Rosemary's reality, subtly and overtly dismissing her concerns and prioritizing his own ambitions. His betrayal is not just personal, it's systematic, isolating Rosemary from her support systems and eroding her confidence. This relentless psychological pressure creates a suffocating masterpiece of atmosphere that defines the film's horror. The neighbors, Minnie and Roman Castevet, add another layer to this manipulation. Their invasive kindness and bizarre rituals make them both charming and deeply unsettling. Their actions are cloaked in a facade of concern, leaving Rosemary and us in the audience unsure whether they're friends or foes. This dynamic pulls us deeper into Rosemary's paranoia, forcing us to question every interaction and intention. One of the film's most powerful tools is its ability to blur the lines between reality and imagination. Polanski is able to craft a narrative that plays with our trust in Rosemary's perspective. Are her fears legitimate, or is she succumbing to prenatal anxiety and paranoia? The ambiguousness is deliberate. It keeps us as disoriented and uncertain as Rosemary herself. Scenes like the infamous dream sequence, where Rosemary envisions herself on a yacht surrounded by strange rituals, are emblematic of this duality. The sequence is surreal and disjointed, merging reality with nightmare. This disorientation mirrors Rosemary's psychological state, emphasizing how fragile her grasp on reality has become. And by the end of the film, even as certain truths are revealed, the lingering question remains: how much of this horror was real, and how much was a product of Rosemary's unraveling mind? Rosemary's character arc is one of the film's most compelling elements. At the start of the story, she is hopeful, trusting, and eager to build this new life with her husband. However, as the plot unfolds, her trust is systematically stripped away. Her transformation into a terrified, isolated woman is heartbreaking and deeply relatable. Us in the audience, we're with her every step of the way. We're feeling her confusion, anger, and desperation. But what makes Rosemary such a compelling protagonist is her resilience. Despite these overwhelming odds and the psychological assault she faces, she continues to fight for clarity and agency. Her internal struggles drive the narrative, making her both a victim of the sinister forces around her and a hero in her own right. Mia Farrow's performance brings a raw vulnerability to the character, ensuring that Rosemary's journey resonates on a deeply emotional level. The genius of Rosemary's Baby, though, lies in its restraint. Much of the horror is implied rather than shown, leaving us to imagine the worst. This subtlety amplifies the psychological tension as our minds fill in the blanks with our darkest fears. The film plays on universal anxieties, the fear of losing control, the fear of betrayal, and the fear of the unknown. Consider the way the film handles the pregnancy itself. Rosemary's physical symptoms, pain, weight loss, cravings, all natural enough to be dismissed by those around her, yet strange enough to unsettle us in the audience. This ambiguity creates a constant sense of unease. By the time the baby is born, the fear of the unknown has reached its peak, making the climactic revelation all the more shocking. Ultimately, Rosemary's Baby forces us to confront this terror of powerlessness. It explores how isolation and manipulation can turn the familiar, our homes, our relationships, all into sources of dread. The psychological elements of the film are what make it not just a horror movie, but a profound exploration of the human mind under pressure. Standout achievement of Rosemary's Baby is its masterful atmosphere and tone. which Polanski crafts with deliberate precision. From the very beginning, the film exudes an undercurrent of unease, a sense that something isn't quite right. The mundane routines of Rosemary's life are tinged with an almost imperceptible dread, creating this gradual buildup of tension that doesn't rely again on jump scares or overt horror, but instead on deeply unsettling psychological edge. Polanski's cinematography is a key component in establishing this tone. His use of tight framing and voyeuristic camera angles creates an oppressive sense of confinement. He makes it feel as though the walls of Rosemary's world are closing in on her. We're often placed in Rosemary's perspective, trapped right alongside her, unable to escape this mounting paranoia. The frequent use of doorways and narrow corridors emphasizes her isolation and vulnerability. And then the muted color palette, dominated by earthy tones and shadows, enhance this gothic atmosphere of the film. Polanski juxtaposes the opulence of the Dakota apartment interiors with a sense of decay and foreboding, turning this otherwise luxurious space into a prison. This visual style reflects Rosemary's psychological state. Her bright, hopeful beginnings fade into dark and suffocating reality. Sound here is another crucial element in creating the atmosphere. Krzysztof Komida's haunting lullaby score is unforgettable. A delicate and almost childlike melody that contrasts starkly with the film's darker themes. This juxtaposition makes it even more unsettling as the score blurs the lines between innocence and malevolence. The lullaby lingers, both beautiful and deeply chilling, perfectly setting the tone for the story's descent into psychological horror. In addition to the music, Polanski employs subtle sound cues to heighten the tension. The muffled voices through the walls, the persistent hum of the city, and the unsettling silences all contribute to a soundscape that's alive with this menace. These auditory elements are often understated, and they allow us to feel the tension without always being overtly aware of what's causing it. And that just mirrors Rosemary's own experience. And the setting of the Dakota apartment building is arguably one of the film's most memorable. Its Gothic architecture and the labyrinth-like interiors provide the perfect backdrop for Rosemary's descent into paranoia and fear. The building's grandeur is deceptive. Beneath its elegant facade lies this overwhelming sense of foreboding. The Dakota has these long, shadowy halls, and the ornate details feel both majestic and oppressive, amplifying the sense that Rosemary really is trapped in a place that's both alien and claustrophobic. The other residents of the building, with their peculiar and intrusive behaviors, contribute to this feeling. The apartment becomes a living, breathing part of the narrative, embodying the isolation and secrecy and the creeping dread that define the film itself. The atmosphere and tone of Rosemary's Baby are constructed in such a way, using Polanski's meticulous use of cinematography, the beautiful sound design, and this great setting. Each element works in harmony with each other to create a psychological horror experience that sticks with us. This is a film that doesn't just tell a story. Again, it immerses us in a world where every detail whispers of unease, and where the most terrifying monsters are these unseen entities that you feel but never get introduced to. Rosemary's Baby stands out as a psychological horror masterpiece, largely due to its rich and layered character dynamics. Each character, from the protagonist to the supporting cast, contributes to the film's pervasive tension and the extremely unsettling tone. Rosemary Woodhouse, portrayed by Mia Farrow, is one of the most compelling protagonists in horror cinema. At the film's outset, Rosemary is bright, hopeful, and eager to build a new life with her husband Guy. However, as the story progresses, her mental state deteriorates under the weight of isolation, manipulation, and the gaslighting. Her vulnerability is one of her most defining traits. Polanski portrays her as this young woman navigating a world where her autonomy is subtly stripped away. The physical toll of her pregnancy mirrors the emotional toll of being surrounded by people who dismiss, belittle, and control her. Yet, despite her frailty, Rosemary exhibits this quiet determination, and it makes her relatable and deeply sympathetic. Even as her reality becomes increasingly nightmarish, she clings to her instincts, striving to protect her unborn child in the face of these unsurmountable odds. This combination of fragility and resilience makes her this profoundly human and unforgettable protagonist. And as we've seen more and more in the psychological horror realm, there isn't a single identifiable villain. Rosemary's Baby presents a more insidious form of evil, and it's the collective manipulation. The antagonists are not only the coven of witches plotting against Rosemary, but also those she trusts most, particularly her husband Guy. Guy's betrayal is devastating on multiple levels. It's not just a plot point. It's this personal and psychological wound. By prioritizing his own ambition over his wife's well-being, Guy becomes this embodiment of betrayal and selfishness. His complicity in the coven's plans is horrifying because it's rooted in a disturbingly real dynamic, a partner who dismisses and exploits the person they claim to love. The group's manipulation adds further layers to the horror. Their control over every aspect of Rosemary's life, from her medical care to her social interactions, creates a sense of inescapable dread. This collective villainy taps into universal fears of losing agency and being powerless against this larger, sinister force. Now, among the supporting cast, Minnie and Roman Castevet stand out as some of the most memorable and unsettling characters in the film. Played with this unnerving charm by Ruth Gordon and Sidney Blackmer, the Castevets are this study in just odd. They're outwardly eccentric and friendly, yet they're deeply sinister. Minnie's overbearing nature and Roman's affable authority make them disarming at first. They invite Rosemary into their world under the guise of neighborly kindness. But their actions reveal a calculated malevolence. Their peculiar habits and invasive generosity create an atmosphere of subtle unease, with every interaction pushing Rosemary further into their control. For me, what makes the Castevets so terrifying is their ability to destabilize Rosemary without overt violence. Their manipulation is psychological, eroding her sense of reality and leaving her increasingly dependent on them. The dynamic they create, that mix of charm and menace, is fascinating and deeply chilling. The characters in Rosemary's Baby are intricately woven into the fabric of the film's horror. Rosemary's journey is as much about battling the external forces conspiring against her as it is about grappling with her own isolation and fear. The antagonists from Guy to the Coven embody a kind of evil that feels both supernatural and painfully human. Meanwhile, the supporting characters, particularly the Castevets, provide a masterclass in how subtle, insidious behavior can be as terrifying as outright villainy. This rich character study is what makes Rosemary's Baby endure as a psychological horror classic. It's not just a story about evil, it's a story about people with their complexities and the way they can both uplift and destroy one another. Rosemary's Baby is a film that resonates far beyond its surface level narrative, with rich symbolism and subtext locked into its horror framework. Through visual metaphors, psychological depth, and cultural commentary, Roman Polanski creates a layered story that is as thought-provoking as it is unsettling. The film's recurring imagery serves as potent visual metaphors that help to deepen its themes. The ominous baby carriage, for instance, looms as chilling symbol of Rosemary's impending fate. What should be an emblem of joy and new beginnings instead becomes this harbinger of loss, manipulation, and fear. Its presence underscores the control others have seized over her life and her body, turning an object of life and nurture into one of dread and uncertainty. Similarly, the herb-filled charm gifted to Rosemary by Minnie Castevet is more than just a peculiar talisman. It represents the invasive and sinister influence of the coven, encroaching on Rosemary's autonomy under the guise of protection. It's these visual elements that aren't just props, they're manifestations of the larger forces that are eroding away Rosemary's sense of control and self. The film also dives into these universal fears and personal struggles, making its horror deeply psychological. Themes of autonomy, trust, and how fragile the human mind is are all central to Rosemary's journey. Her growing fear of losing control over her own life, be it her body, her decisions, or her grasp on reality, mirrors a profound and relatable anxiety. The film blurs the line between Rosemary's internal and external battles. As she questions whether her paranoia is justified or a figment of her imagination, we are also drawn into the same uncertainty. This taps into primal fears of isolation and betrayal, and it makes Rosemary's struggle deeply personal and universally resonant. And then beyond those psychological depths, Rosemary's Baby serves as a commentary on societal dynamics, particularly the role of women in the late 60s. This film reflects the anxieties of its time, a period marked by shifting attitudes toward gender roles, bodily autonomy, and societal expectations. Rosemary's experience echoes the plight of women whose voices and autonomy are dismissed or overridden by others, often under the guise of their own well-being. Her struggles with gaslighting and manipulation mirror broader societal patterns, where women's agency is routinely undermined. What makes the film enduringly relevant is this exploration of bodily autonomy. It's a theme that continues to resonate in contemporary discussions about reproductive rights and consent. Rosemary's loss of control over her pregnancy serves as a stark reminder of just how deeply personal decisions can be co-opted by external forces. It's a narrative that remains painfully timely today. Now, while Rosemary's Baby is undeniably a cinematic triumph, it is impossible to discuss the film without acknowledging the deeply troubling legacy of its director, Roman Polanski. His reprehensible actions outside of filmmaking cast a shadow over his entire body of work, and we as viewers have to grapple with the complexity of how do we separate art from the artist. This raises important questions about how we engage with cinema and its creators. Can we appreciate the artistry of a film while condemning the actions of its maker? How do we balance recognition of a film's cultural impact with a responsible acknowledgement of its creator's legacy? These are difficult but necessary conversations that extend beyond Rosemary's Baby, touching on broader issues of accountability in art and entertainment. I will give you my point of view on this. I absolutely abhor Roman Polanski as a person outside of the art, but to not watch his films, to not experience this art, is to discount all of the other people involved, from your cameraman to your grips, your Foley artists, all of your actors, everybody else. And I refuse to discount what they did and the art that they helped to create. So that's my opinion on the matter. So the layers of symbolism and subtext in Rosemary's Baby contribute to its status as a psychological and cultural landmark. Its visual metaphors, psychological depth, and timely commentary on autonomy make it a rich text for analysis and discussion. However, appreciating its artistry must also come with a recognition of the ethical complexities surrounding its creation. A reminder that cinema, like all art, exists in the context of the people and circumstances that shape it. Rosemary's Baby masterfully balances pacing and plot structure. It crafts a narrative that keeps us gripped from start to finish. It has deliberate pacing, carefully timed revelations, and a haunting conclusion that all combine to make this a landmark in psychological horror, sort of a turning point. At the heart of the film's power lies its commitment to the slow burn approach. From the moment Rosemary and Guy move into the Dakota, the film unfolds methodically, giving us time to absorb the nuances of their environment and relationship. The pacing isn't sluggish, rather it's calculated buildup that mirrors Rosemary's growing unease. Each scene is designed to subtly ratchet up the tension, whether it's through an awkward interaction with the Castavets, Guy's increasingly suspicious behavior, or Rosemary's deteriorating health. This slower approach allows the film to burrow into our psyche and create an atmosphere of dread that becomes nearly unbearable by the time the climactic moments arrive. The choice to avoid a fast-paced structure is integral to the film's psychological impact. Instead of bombarding us with overt scares and rapid plot developments, Rosemary's Baby relies on the creeping realization that something is deeply wrong, a realization that dawns on us in tandem with Rosemary herself. The plot's twists and turns are woven into the slow-moving framework of the film. Early on, the strange behaviors of the Castavets and their peculiar interest in Rosemary seem odd but harmless. However, as the story progresses, the true extent of their malevolent intentions is revealed. The genius of the film's structure lies in the ability to keep us guessing. Polanski peppers the narrative with moments of doubt. Are Rosemary's fears justified, or is she succumbing to paranoia? This ambiguity heightens the suspense, drawing us deeper into Rosemary's perspective. And the eventual revelation of the conspiracy around Rosemary is devastating, not only for its horror, but for its personal betrayal. Guy's complicity adds a deeply emotional layer to the plot, turning the conspiracy into a betrayal of trust and love. This personal element makes the twists hit harder, leaving this lasting impression on us, the viewer. And the film's ending is one of its most discussed and debated aspects. After enduring months of manipulation, fear, and physical suffering, Rosemary discovers the horrifying truth about her baby. Yet, rather than reacting with the expected horror or rejection, she chooses to embrace her child, despite its monstrous origins. This ambiguous conclusion leaves us deeply unsettled. Is Rosemary's decision an act of maternal love, A capitulation to the forces that have controlled her? Or is it a desperate bid to reclaim some semblance of agency over her life? Polanski doesn't offer us any answers. He forces us to grapple with the implications of her choice. And this ambiguity of the ending is perfect. It ensures that the film will linger with us as we move on throughout our day and talk about it with others. And it encourages us to reflect on those themes and our own interpretations of Rosemary's fate. So the pacing and plot structure of Rosemary's Baby are essential to its impact. This slow pacing allows tension to build methodically, and expertly crafted twists keep us engaged and unsettled. The ambiguous ending leaves a haunting impression. It elevates the film from straightforward horror story to complex and thought-provoking work of art. The storytelling in Rosemary's Baby demonstrates that true horror isn't just about what happens, it's about how it unfolds and the questions that it leaves behind. Rosemary's Baby is not just a film. It's a milestone in cinema, particularly within the horror genre. Its influence, reception, and enduring cultural relevance have secured its place as a cornerstone of psychological horror. When Rosemary's Baby debuted in 1968, it redefined what horror could be. In an era dominated by monster movies and overt supernatural scares, Polanski's film took a subtler approach, focusing on psychological terror and paranoia. It introduced us to a horror grounded in reality, where the most frightening elements are not monsters or ghosts, but the betrayal of loved ones, the erosion of trust, and the loss of control over one's own life. The film's emphasis on being ambiguous and the psychological unraveling paved the way for a new wave of horror that prioritized atmosphere and character development over jump scares. Over the years, films like The Exorcist, The Babadook, and Hereditary owe a clear debt to Rosemary's Baby for its exploration of maternal fears, isolation, and the tension between the known and unknown. Its influence extends beyond horror, impacting psychological thrillers and dramas that seek to evoke a similar sense of unease. From the moment it was released, Rosemary's Baby was met with critical acclaim, and it quickly became a cultural phenomenon. Critics praised its sophisticated storytelling, Polanski's meticulous direction, and Mia Farrow's haunting performance as Rosemary. The film stood out for its ability to deliver this deeply unsettling experience without relying on any traditional horror tropes. Audiences were equally captivated. The film tapped into the anxieties of the late 60s, particularly those surrounding gender roles, societal expectations, and a distrust of authority. The themes resonate on a personal and cultural level, making it a topic of discussion far beyond the realm of just horror fans. And over the years, its reputation has only grown. Modern critics and audiences continue to revisit and celebrate the film, noticing its timeless qualities and its ability to evoke dread and empathy in equal measure. Today, Rosemary's Baby enjoys an almost mythical status in the horror canon. It is considered essential viewing for anyone exploring the genre, and its influence is felt across generations of filmmakers and fans. The film's enduring popularity can be attributed to its depth, sophistication, and the universality of its themes. Its status is also fueled by its memorable moments, from the chilling lullaby score to the enigmatic castavets and that haunting conclusion. These details have seeped into popular culture, making Rosemary's Baby not just a film, but a true touchstone for discussions about horror, storytelling, and cultural anxieties. The impact and legacy are immeasurable. By setting a new standard for psychological horror, It has influenced countless films and redefined audience expectations for the entire genre. Its critical and popular success upon release, combined with its relevance and status, ensure that it remains a cornerstone of horror cinema, as both a product of its time and a timeless masterpiece. Rosemary's Baby continues to terrify, provoke, and inspire. Today, Rosemary's Baby stands as one of the most influential and unsettling films in the horror genre. It's left its mark both on audiences and filmmakers alike. As a chilling exploration of paranoia, manipulation, and trust, it's a film that doesn't just frighten, it provokes deep thought and reflection about personal autonomy, societal pressures, and the nature of fear itself. Rosemary's Baby is a masterclass in psychological horror. Polanski's deliberate pacing and focus on character and atmosphere create a mounting tension that feels almost suffocating. The film operates in the space where the supernatural is only ever suggested, but its true horror lies in the very real human forces working against Rosemary. This slow approach is essential, not only because it deepens the film's emotional resonance, but because it mirrors the suffocating grip that the conspirators gradually tighten around Rosemary. As her world becomes more distorted, so too does our perception, drawing us into a shared experience of uncertainty and dread. The manipulation Rosemary experiences, her gradual realization that those she trusts the most, particularly her husband Guy, are betraying her, is a profound source of horror. The film does not rely on overt scares or gore. Instead, it builds a psychological labyrinth where we, like Rosemary, feel lost and uncertain. This is a type of horror that doesn't fade after the credits roll. It lingers, forcing us to confront the deeply unsettling implications of the film's themes. The film's greatest strength lies in its psychological depth. It's not just a story about a woman who becomes the victim of a satanic conspiracy. It's about a woman's loss of control over her own body, mind, and fate. The narrative is not just a plot. It's an experience crafted to make us feel the weight of Rosemary's growing isolation and dread. Mia Farrow's iconic performance as Rosemary is a crucial part of this, portraying a woman whose vulnerability and resilience make her both relatable and tragic. Polanski's direction is equally notable. The tight, voyeuristic camera angles, the eerie silence punctuated by unsettling sounds, and the claustrophobic interiors of the Dakota apartment all contribute to a suffocating atmosphere. The visuals, paired with Krzysztof Kmita's haunting score, create a world that feels just as imprisoning as the conspiracy Rosemary is caught in. The sense of paranoia isn't just told, it's felt in every frame. That said, the film's deliberate pacing, though a strength for many, may be a weakness for some. This slow approach requires patience and an appreciation for subtlety, which can be off-putting to viewers expecting the faster-paced narrative or more immediate horror. The lack of a traditional scare structure may alienate those who seek conventional horror tropes. However, this pacing is not an accident. It is integral to the film's unsettling nature, slowly tightening the noose around our expectations and emotions. Rosemary's Baby is one of those rare films that transcends genre to become a landmark in cinema history. Its psychological complexity, deeply disturbing atmosphere, and cultural relevance give it an enduring impact that is hard to overstate. As a film, it remains an unsettling and thought-provoking experience, one that has stayed with me ever since the first time I watched it. For these reasons, I give Rosemary's Baby a 9 out of 10. It's a nearly perfect example of how horror can both be intellectually stimulating and emotionally unnerving. While its slow pace may not be for everyone, it's an intentional choice that heightens the overall tension and complexity of the narrative. So if you're a fan of psychological horror, Rosemary's Baby is absolutely essential viewing. This is an experience, one that dives into the deepest corners of fear, manipulation, and loss of control. It's also a must-watch for anyone interested in films that don't just aim to frighten, but to provoke thought, challenge perceptions, and offer a deeper reflection on the human experience. Whether you're a seasoned horror fan or a newcomer to the genre, Rosemary's Baby is a film that I believe will leave a lasting impression and undoubtedly influence your understanding of what true horror can be. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Real Talk Horror Edition. I truly appreciate you joining me today for this discussion on Rosemary's Baby, a film that has not only shaped the horror genre, but continues to provoke thought and evoke fear decades after its release. If you enjoyed this episode and want to dive deeper into more terrifying films, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Subscribing ensures you won't miss any of our future episodes where we explore the chilling, the eerie, and the downright unsettling. If you have enjoyed our discussion or found something new in the films we've covered, please take a moment to leave us a review. Your feedback helps continue to improve and bring more horror lovers like you into our community. I love reading your thoughts and reactions to our takes on classic and modern horror. It always is great to hear what resonated with you, or what might have scared you the most, or where you just disagreed with me. Also, don't forget to share your thoughts and engage with us on social media. Follow us on Instagram and Threads at Real Talk. I want to know your take on Rosemary's Baby. Do you agree with my analysis, or did you see it differently? Maybe you've got your own horror film recommendations that you think we should dive into next. I would love to hear from you. Looking ahead to our next episode, it promises to be another terrifying deep dive. We'll be exploring Robert Eggers' 2015 film, The Witch, a modern masterpiece that blends psychological tension with supernatural horror in a way that I think will haunt you. Get ready to immerse yourself in the unsettling world of 17th century New England, where paranoia and religious extremism intertwine to create an unforgettable tale of dread. Until then, keep questioning reality, stay curious, and most importantly, stay scared. The world of horror is vast, and we've only scratched the surface. Remember, the scariest monsters are often the ones lurking in the corners of our minds. Thanks again for listening to Real Talk Horror Edition. We'll be back soon with more chills, thrills, and a deeper dive into the world of cinematic terror.
Creeping through the silence dark, whispers in the midnight park. The night is cold, there's no escape. Ghostly figures take their shape. Shadows play a twisted game. Fear and terror stake their claim. Footsteps follow close behind. Haunting thoughts invade your mind. Run away, but they won't go. In the darkness, fear will grow. Midnight shadows come to play. In your dreams, they'll always stay. Rattle doors, they creak. Ghostly whispers start to speak. Every corner hides a fear. Close your eyes, they're drawing near. Candles flicker, spirits call. In the night they'll take it all. Midnight strikes, the clocks rewind. Nightmares now are intertwined. They're away, but they won't go. In the darkness, fear will glow. Midnight shadows come to play. In your dreams, they'll all